Go to Workforce Wednesday today. I am talking with Punit. I'm going to butcher it. Give me your last name.
So many, Somani or so many.
Somani's there. You're one of those people who doesn't who just accepts it for wherever it is. I love that. We're going to be talking about outsourcing. I'm very excited about that. And again, I am on it's spring's conference season, and so I'm working out of a hotel room, which means that my lighting is a little suboptimal, but not too bad. But before we get started, first this. Oh man, that's actually the first time I have seen that intro, and I really like it a ton. So what do you think?
Yes, I know because now we have so many roles, so many hats getting showcased in your introduction, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So Punit, let's actually start with who it is, what you do at QX Global to make the lives of people who live and work in senior living better.
So I'm a Michigander, based out of Detroit. Just for everybody to know, I've been serving the finance and digital transformation industry for almost 15 years now. I work very closely with customers, helping them support their back office finance and accounting function. This not only improves, their function efficiency, it brings in value, a lot of internal and external customer satisfaction. So I feel pride on, when I associate with customers and help them solve these issues and also grow with them. So that is my background, Steve.
Great. So one of the questions that as we work with companies and even just having conversations that I always like to ask is and I think companies sometimes don't do a great job of this. You and I have talked about this, so I know I'm sort of teeing up. You already have this answer, right? But the question I think is a really important question. And the question is what's the big problem in senior living that you solve?
The big problem, and Steve, you, me, we have been attending so many events. We have been party to so many panel discussions. I've been attending the NIC at the Spring One, the Argentum Senior Living Executive Conference, or I go to the interface events. Everywhere the theme is around, or one of the theme is around how to maintain the operating margins, which I mean is the positive operating margins. That is what I see the challenge, common across all the operators, developers, and the management companies on the senior living industry sector. Second, I would also want to see the challenge I see, or everybody faces this problem, is the talent shortage. What we see is getting the right people at the right wage rates. Um, you know, so that is also one more thing which I see a lot of people talking about it when we when I meet them, I discuss with them, I sit one on one with them during coffee sessions or drink sessions. That is what I've been seeing a lot. And lastly is the main community directors or the principal, or those who are running the independent communities. They have been stretched a lot. They are doing everything, running around here and there. And of course, where they want everyone is to focus on more activities towards the elderly, how they can improve the sales, how they can participate in that process. So that is what the challenge is. I have noticed, where been part of this industry for some time now.
Okay, great. So this is really terrific. That's sort of a high level description of what you do. I want to dig down a little bit into kind of the nuts and bolts. And so, actually, how do you help with this margin, this staffing challenge? Because you are absolutely right. Every conference I go to, the two big challenges are staffing. Probably right now, staffing almost more than occupancy, but staffing than occupancy and the one of those two you really tackle is the staffing piece of it that has a huge impact on margins. So let's sort of dig down to the nuts and bolts on that.
So, big benefits which we provide on all these challenges, or I would say the solutions which we provide to the to the senior living sector. One is, we have pool of accountants. We have almost, 2,000 plus accountants, and we are working primarily in the property management, student housing, multifamily, and senior living sector today. So everybody is aware of, or they have the domain expertise. So that's the first big part, where we have a pool of resources equally qualified, who can jump on, and who can assist the customers. Second, we are an extension to their team. So I would replace the word outsourcing to something like extension of their teams or support functions. It can be sitting at our end, monitored and supervised by us, but it's simply they're working on their systems, working on their email address, working on their entire infrastructure and environment. So that is how it is. What makes a senior living operator free is of they don't have to worry about the month end reporting, because we work on a process, on a plan, on a transition, where we capture everything and we do it as they have been doing internally, but their bandwidth gets free because they are more focused, and while the low hanging fruits are taken care by us. That is how I would say our solutions are helping them in a big way.
And so you're helping at both the community or property level for the executive directors, and then at the corporate level. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do. So, we are nothing but whatever function. So to give you a case of point over here, we do invoice processing with 99% accuracy. And we have our own solutions. If at all, customer does not have a workflow, we have our own automation tools or workflows which we can use and help them give that benefit. We also have reporting tools where we give them visual or automated reporting, which is more beneficial to them, where they can analyze, do more decision making, rather than struggling month end on collating data and running across it and then creating those different reports for investors, for owners, for operators, and so on and so forth. Lastly, I would want to add, we have qualified chartered accountants, who have expertise in financial planning and analytics. So that is what they add. And, it's like we run a center of excellence at our end. So there is sharing of knowledge, there is sharing of, industry benchmarks, what is best working. So all that is trained and nurtured within the same teams of our customers, which can be used. Thirdly, I would like to say is, we own the process of the customer. Of course, it is with their teams, but then when we take the process, we own it, and we try to be more proactive and help the customers how they can change in a certain way, or what should be the next level of automation they should take, or how we can support them on the yardi version, where they're lacking on reporting, or they need some tweaking, they need some programming over there. We do all that and we help them. So it's like a one-stop shop for them on the finance and accounting side.
Right. And so you can work with essentially any accounting platform that an operator is currently using. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So, QuickBooks, Yardi, Sage, you take the names, and, we have been working with all the systems and we have the expertise in house. Even if we don't have, the basic knowledge, 50 to 60% of accounting is same. There is a training which can be taken by our team, and, they can easily, then maneuver, self-train, and have their, documents ready, if at all, if any training needs to be taken by self-study.
Okay. So, talk to me a little bit about security. The security is this big, huge issue, and everybody worries about it. We've even had a couple of big security breaches in and around on the IT side, in and around senior living. And so, how do you make sure that all stays secure? How does that work?
Very good question, Steve, and very, very important part of any engagement because data is key over here. Secure data security is something where it's not going to get compromised because we don't download any data at our end. We are only working on the customer desktop protocols or using remote desktop protocols and working on their environment. Uh, a employee or a resource which has been deployed will have their email address, will be working on their team's access, and will be working on as a license on the yardi or on the accounting platform, which will be completely customer. So and the infrastructure we set up at our end, there is a lot of control where we track the screen. There is no passage for people to download or upload anything. So there is a lot of these protocols which we maintain. And not to mention, we are SOC certified, so we are audited on all our processes, and we are have stringent measures over and above where we not only get audited, but we are maintaining that governance model at our end.
And
Lastly,
yeah,
we
go ahead.
always sorry, I'll just complete that. We always collaborate with the IT teams of the customer side. So there is both teams who talk together, who see how are we doing it, and then we take it forward.
Right. And if I'm working with the QX Global, I essentially have dedicated team members that I'm working with on your side. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So these are all dedicated members. They are not shared resources and they work full time for that customer. So, and I repeat myself that it is nothing but extension of your team at our end. So,
Okay.
you know them, you do video calls with them. It's like nothing but, somebody working remote within an organization. It's as simple as that.
Gotcha. So what does it look like to um actually I'm going to go to another question. I want to ask a different question first. I think that one of the big challenges that senior living faces or has been maybe a better way to put it has been really slow to adopt compared to a lot of other industries is we seem to have a lot of fear about outsourcing. And I was reading something on LinkedIn outside the industry a couple of days ago, and it really struck me that for all sort of the reluctance about outsourcing, that virtually every senior living company in the country actually has things they actually already outsource. They just don't call it outsourcing, but almost every company uses an outside marketing company, right? And that is really a form of outsourcing. So as you talk to people, I'd love to have you just sort of talk to me a little bit about why people are outsourced. Why you've got obviously lots of clients that you're working with. Why did they outsource rather than do it themselves?
So, lot of good points over here, Steve, and this is something which everybody should be educated about. Firstly, I'll answer your question why people outsource. So, one is there is talent shortage, okay, and to find the right candidate, you have to do not only screening, you have to reach out, you have to create job description, you have to reach out, you have to then set up interviews, and sometimes scheduling interviews, cancellations, no shows, you have to cross that and forget that is still a very short small part of it. You interview a candidate, you do multiple rounds of interview, and on the first joining day they don't show up, or they join, you do a training of 3 to 4 months, and then they decide to move out, or they change state, country, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of these back end ancillary support which runs on recruiting even one workforce at your end. And I'm with you, Steve, where I'm not saying that you should completely lift and shift everything out. No, this is all which is additional support work, which can be done, which are like manual repetitive tasks, which are something where you don't need your team to focus on. This is something which can be readily prepared by somebody who has that basic expertise and can provide that data to the leaders, to the managers, who can then work on it, focus more on it, what should be added, what should be changed, rather than struggling on finishing that work. Now, let me mention about, yes, people are outsourcing, but people has that fear that, you know what, we are going to create negative environment where, the employees will be sad hearing that, oh, we'll now start hearing about uh, or getting question about our role and so on and so forth. No, outsourcing does not mean replacement. Outsourcing means extension. You are growing, your transactions are growing, you need more focus, and that's where a team like us come in and supports your internal team. Your internal team has so much knowledge and expertise about your company that their role can be expanded, they can be used in so many places, while all the low hanging fruit jobs can be taken care by us. That is where outsourcing plays a big role, and that's a misconception everybody carries. And I would like to educate, no, it is not complete taking your function and just replacing it offshore. No, we are here to support your growth, we are here to support your team so that they are more comfortable, they are more confident, they more feel more secured in their role, and they're doing more than what they are doing today. uh, I would also add few more things with outsourcing. They are your team members, and they are, like I keep saying, extension to your team, so you have full control and governance. This is not a robot, this is not a person with a different name and just put a social name of Mike or Bob who's doing that job over there. No, you can now interact with them, you can send text and messages to them. So virtually communication has become so collaborative that you're working with them like you're working today remotely with the teams. One more thing is, so I spoke about better control, but what also happens is offshoring that work compared to doing it onshore with other outsourcing partners is, you don't achieve scalability. You can't ramp up and ramp down. You can't think of becoming more flexible with that team. So there are a lot of aspects which you can do with offshoring compared to onshoring.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing, two other things that really struck me. So the first thing is that I've noticed in the last few months as I've been at senior living conferences, more and more leaders are talking about how they are offshoring because of the workforce crisis. And so it means that you can solve this crisis using offshore help. The cost is lower, more people to work. And the other thing I was thinking that as you were talking is that it's kind of like, every time you have a change in your accounting department, it means you got to go through this hiring process. And once you've connected with QX Global, it's like you never have to do that hiring again. That becomes their job, and making sure that you always have the resources you need, which to me seems like it's a huge benefit.
Absolutely. Just to add on that, Steve, very good point, because this becomes during transition, we make sure we are noting down each and every step of the process. We are creating a document which is called Standard of Procedure, which we follow, which is mutually signed on both sides. We also have another document where we do service level deliverables, which is called SLAs. We sign that, where we are going to perform these duties. We are going to execute these duties by so and so date and time of the month, and there will be so and so much, accuracy over it. So we make sure that the teams are monitored, the teams are responsible, the teams are committed, to the customer. So it's a well engaged and well collaborated strategic partnership.
Cool. So the last thing I really would like, actually, two more things. The first thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is I, one of the challenges that every company faces is when you bring in a new program or a new something. Honestly, it's a hassle to make a change, right? So I was actually talking to somebody this morning about whether they were going to go to another conference, and they said, man, I really like to go, but we've got this new initiative that we're doing and everybody has to stay close to home. And so can you talk to me about the what that transition process is like?
It's very flexible, very smooth. Nothing stops, when you're doing transition. What we do is we lay out, the transition plan where, the customer and their assigned, representatives from their organization, we match their calendars well in advance on getting the training to the resources which get hired from at our end. So there is a very well planned transition which happens, and even if some customer is engaged or they get pulled into some important activities, the work doesn't stop. The training continues, our resources start doing the work, and there is always, we start taking the ownership. For example, if we took 20% of the, training, we'll start on that 20% immediately. If similarly, 70 to 80% training, we'll start working on it. There will be a pilot phase or a cool off period, but we will take ownership and we'll start working on it, so that work doesn't stop, training doesn't stop, and also the customer is not stuck with us. Things keep moving, because I understand it is so dynamic today for the senior living industry that every day something new is coming up, in the finance function, and you can't just get stuck on that project. So I would say a day, it is something where you say, money left on the table is, if not picked up on that day, it's lost forever. That's the concept. I totally, and our customers also believe in that, as that if you have decided and it, you should go for it.
Cool. And so the last thing I'd like to have it talked about is I'd love to have you just maybe tell me a story about somebody who's gone from doing their own accounting services to using you guys, and kind of what that was like and the benefits they got and that kind of thing.
So a lot of benefits. One is, they are, of course, more focused. They are more, there is a process now which, everybody is following. There is more accuracy. There is more timelines which are maintained. To talk about month-end reporting, we have reduced the month-end reporting for our customers, which they used to do for like 9 days. We have brought it down to 2 days. So
Wow.
that is the huge leap of difference our customers see on the reporting side. On the accounts payable side, there are less errors. There is quick, payment to vendors. They are taking now discounts for early payment to the vendors. So that is a kind of, quantity and quality of, you can see the difference which is giving back to the customers.
Cool.
And we have seen, and this is all coming from the customers, that they have seen minimum 40 to 60% savings, on the support functions like this while they are growing, which makes a huge impact on the operating margins, a lot for them.
Yeah, and I think that this is really important because more and more, I mean, there's no magic bullet, right, that can take you from sort of compressed margins to great margins. In order to get the margins you want, really to get spectacular results, it means actually doing a lot of different little things like
Yes.
this, and they can make a huge impact.
Steve, just on that points, I'll just take a minute, but because we are working with a customer today, they bid for communities and they acquire those communities. In fact, what they're doing is we are working with them and they acquire communities. The principal or whom they're hiring as a community director, they are taking all accounting functions beforehand from their job profile and giving it to us, so that they have to do less work on following up on invoices, following up with vendors, or taking care of vendor queries, or filling in, or just taking care of billing, or taking care of receipts of rents and so on and so forth. So I'm just saying this is kind of how it is helping them to focus more on the elderly care and the role which they want in the community for that person.
Yeah, and I really love this because I think that we know that one of the big differentiators between high performing senior living communities and ones that are struggling is great executive directors. And if you have a great executive director or somebody who's growing into that great executive director role, you want them out doing things with residents and working on marketing
Right.
and building team morale. And every minute you have them sitting in their office doing working through your month-end reports and doing those kinds of things is just time that keeps them from doing the things that ultimately make it a great place to live and work. And so I think that's such an important point.
And it brings, a centralized operation. So, you're not doing it at so many community levels. It brings in centralization and, which also makes you think that we are doing or dealing with how can we have a common vendor and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of aspects. So like you said, a drop makes an ocean. That's how it can be beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I've sort of covered all the things I want to do. Any last words?
So, QX Global has been, we are very focused. We are very focused on finance and accounting. We are very focused on the real estate side of, industry like senior living, student housing, multifamily and property management and development companies. So our focus is always been on the industry, and that is how we are different. We are not everywhere, and the kind of training or the kind of resources or accountants we have are more focused with that knowledge and expertise. So that is something which brings and helps us to maintain that quality of delivery through our people when we engage with our customers.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time, the conversation. I appreciate your support of Foresight and our mission to make the lives of people who live and work in senior living better. This is an important way to do that. We are more and more convinced that outsourcing is a hugely valuable way for operators to really get ahead of the curve and doing the best job for residents and team members and reducing costs. So I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to seeing you in person at a conference down the road soon.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Great.